The complete works of Swami Vivekananda, Volume 1, Section 2, Karmayoga, Chapter 1, Karma in its effect on character. The word karma is derived from a Sanskrit word kri, to do. All actions is karma. Technically, this word also means the effect of actions. In connection with metaphysics, it sometimes means the effect, of which our past actions were the cause. But in the Karma Yoga, we have simply to do with the word karma has the meaning work. The goal of mankind is knowledge. That is the one ideal placed before us by the Eastern philosophy. Pleasure is not the goal of man, but knowledge. Pleasure and happiness comes to an end. It is a mistake to suppose that pleasure is the goal. The cause of all miseries we have in the world is that man foolishly thinks pleasure to be the ideal to strive of. After a time, man finds that it is not happiness but knowledge towards which he is going, and that both pleasure and pain are great teachers, and that he learns as much from evil as from good. As pleasure and pain passes from his soul, they have upon it different pictures, and the result of this combination impresses impression is what is called man's character. If you take the character of any man, it really is but the aggregates of tendencies, the sum to total of the bent of his mind. You will find that misery and happiness are equal factors in the formation of that character. Good and evil have an equal share in mounting character, and in some instant, misery is a great teacher than happiness. In studying the great character the world has produced, I dare say, in the vast majority of cases, it would be found that it was misery that taught more than happiness. It was poverty that taught more than wealth. It was blow that brought out from inner fire more than praise. Now, this knowledge again is inherent in men. No knowledge comes from outside, it is from inside. What we say a man knows, should its strict psychological language be what he discovers or unveils. What a man learns is really what he discovers by taking the cover off his own soul, which is a mine of infinite knowledge. We say Newton discovered gravity. Was it sitting anywhere in the corner waiting for him? It was in his own mind, and the time came and he found it out. All knowledge that the world has ever received comes from the mind. The infinite library of the universe is in your own mind. External world is simply the suggestion, the occasion which sets you to study your own mind, but the object of your study is always your own mind. The feeling, the falling of the apple gave the suggestion of to Newton, and he studied his own mind. He rearranged all the previous links of thoughts in his own mind and discovered a new link among them, which we call the law of gravitation. It was not in the apple nor in anything in the center of earth. All knowledge, therefore, secular or spiritual, is in the human mind. In many cases, it is not discovered but remain covered, and when covering is being slowly taken off, we say we are learning. And the advance of the knowledge is made by advance of this process of uncovering. The man from whom this will is been lifted is the more knowing man. The man upon whom it lies thick is ignorant. The man from whom it has entirely gone is all knowing, omniscient. There have been omniscient men, and I believe there will be yet that there will be myriads of them in the cycles to come. Like fire in the piece of flint, knowledge exists in mind. Suggestion is the friction which brings it out. So, with all our feelings and actions, our tears and smiles, our joys and grief, our wiping and our laughter, our curse and blessings, our praise and our blames, every one of these we may find, if we calmly study our own self, to have been brought out from within ourselves by so many blows. The result is what we call our. All these blows take together are called as karma, that is work or action. Every mental and physical blow that is given to the soul by which as it were fire is struck from it, and by which its own power and knowledge is discovered, is karma. This word being used in its widest sense. Thus, we are all doing karma all the time. I'm talking to you, that is a karma. You are listening, that is a karma. We breathe, that is a karma. We walk, karma. Everything we do, physical or mental, is karma and it leaves its mark on us. There are certain works which are, as it were, the aggregates, the sum total of a large number of smaller works. If we stand near the seashore and hear the waves dashing against the shingle, we think it is such a great noise, and yet we know that one wave is really composed of millions and millions of minutes of waves. Each one of these is making a noise, and yet we do not catch it. It is only when they become the big aggregate that we hear. Similarly, every pulsation of the heart is work. Certain kind of work we feel and they become tangible to us. They are at the same time the aggregate of the number of small works. If you really want to judge the character of man, look not at his great performance. Every fool may become a hero at one time or another. Watch a man do his most common action. Those are indeed the things which will tell you the real character of a great man. Great occasions rose even the lowest of the human beings to some kind of greatness, but he alone is a really great man whose character is great always, the same wherever he be. Karma, in its effect on character, is the most tremendous power that man has to deal with. Man is has as it were a center and is attracted to all powers of the universe towards himself. And in this center is fusing them all and again sending them off in a big current. Such a center is a real man, the Almighty, the Omniscient, and he draws the whole universe towards him. Good and bad, misery and happiness, all are running towards him, clinging around him, and out of them he fashions the mighty stream of tendencies called character and throws it outward. As he has powers of drawing in anything, so he has powers of throwing it out. All the action that we see in the world, all the movement in human society, all the work that we have around us are simply the display of thoughts, manifestation of the will of man. Machines and instruments, cities, shapes, or men of war, all these are simply the manifestation of will of man. And this will is caused by character, and character is manufactured by karma. As is karma, so is the manifestation of will. The men of mighty will the world has produced have all been tremendously workers, gigantic souls with wills powerful enough to overturn worlds. Wills they got by persistent work through ages and ages. Such a gigantic will as that of the Buddha or Jesus could not be obtained in one life, for we know who their fathers were. It is not known that their fathers were ever spoke a word for good of mankind. Millions and millions carpenters like Joseph had gone. Millions are still living. millions and millions of petty kings like Buddha's father had been in the world. If it was only the case of hereditary transmission, how do you account the petty prince who was not perhaps obeyed by his own servant, producing his son, whom half the world worships? How do you explain the gulf between carpenter and his son, whom millions of human beings worship as God? It cannot be solved by the theory of hereditary, the gigantic will which Buddha and Jesus threw over the world. Whence did it come? Whence came this accumulation of power? It must have been there through ages and ages, continuously growing bigger and bigger until it burst on the society in Buddha or a Jesus, even rolling down to the present day. All this is determined by karma work. Karma, that is work. No one can get anything unless he earns it. This is an eternal law. We may sometime think it is not so, but in the long run we become convinced of it. A man may struggle all his life for the riches. He may cheat thousands, but he finds at least that he did not deserve to become rich, and his life becomes a trouble and nuisance of him. We may go on accumulating things for our physical enjoyment, but only when what we own is really ours. A fool may buy all books in the world, and they will be there will be in his library, but he will be able to read only those that he deserves to. And this deserving is produced by karma. Our karma determines what we deserve and what we can assimilate. We are responsible uh, for what we are and whatever we wish ourselves to be. We have the power to make ourselves. If what we are now has been the result of our own past actions, it certainly follows that whatever we wish to be in the future can be produced by our present actions. So we have to know how to act. You will say, what is the use of learning how to work? Everyone works in some way or other in the world, but there is such a thing as frittering away our energies. With regard of karma yoga, the Gita says that it is doing work with cleverness and has a science. By knowing how to work, one can obtain the greatest results. You must remember that all work is simply to bring out the power of the mind which is already there to awake up the soul. The power is inside every man, so is knowing. The different work are like blows to bring them out, to cause their giants to wake up. Man works with various motives. There cannot be work without motive. Some people want to get fame and some they work for fame. Others for money and work for money. Others for power and they work for power. Others want heaven and they work for the same. Others want to leave a name when they die, as they do in China, where no man gets a title until he is dead. And that is better way after all than with us. When a man does something very good there, they give a title of nobility of his to his father, who is dead, or to his grandfather. Some people work for that. Some of the followers of certain Mohammedan sect work all their lives to have the big tomb built for them when they die. I know sect among whom as soon as child is born, a tomb is prepared for it. That is among them the most important work of man has to do. And the bigger and finer the tomb, the better off the man is supposed to be. Other works or has a penance do penance, do all sort of wicked things, then erect a temple or give something to the priest to buy of them and obtain from their passport or to heaven. They think that this kind of beneficence will clear them and they will go scot free in the spite of their sinfulness. Such are some of the various motives of work. Work for work's sake. There are some who are really the salt of the earth in every country and who work for work's sakes, who do not care for name, fame, and even for heaven. They work just because good will come to them. There are others who do good to the poor and help mankind from still higher motives because they believe in doing good and love good. The motive for name and fame seldom bring immediate result as a rule. They come to us when we are old and have almost done almost done with life. If a man works without any selfish motive in view, does he not gain anything? Yes, he gains the highest. Unselfishness is more paying, only people have not the patience to practice it. It is more paying from the point of view of health also. Love, truth, unselfishness are not merely moral figures of speech, but they form our highest idea because in them lies such a manifestation of power. In the first place, a man who can work for 5 days or even for 5 minutes without any selfish motive whatever, without thinking of future, of heaven, of punishment, or any kind of thing, has in him the capacity to become the powerful moral giant. It is hard to do it, in the heart of the but in the heart of our hearts we know its value and the good it brings. It is the greatest manifestation of power. This tremendous strain, self restraint, is the manifestation of the great power than all outgoing actions. A carriage with 4 horses may rush down in the hill unrestrained, or the coachman may curb the horses. Which is the greatest manifestation of power, to, to let them go or to hold them? A cannonball flying through the air, going to long distance and fall. An, an, another, another is cut short in its flight by striking against the wall, and the impact generates intense heat. All outgoing energy following a selfish motive is frittered away. It will not cause power to return to you, but if restrained, it will result in developing of power. This self-control will tend to produce a might will, a character which makes the Christ or the Buddha. Foolish men do not know this secret. They nevertheless want to rule mankind. Even the fool may rule the whole world if he works and waits. Let him wait few years, restrain that foolish idea of governing, and when that idea is wholly gone, he will be a powerful in the world. The majority of us cannot see beyond a few years, just as some animals cannot see beyond few steps, just a little narrow circle. That is our world. We have not the patience to look beyond and thus become immoral and wicked. This is our weakness, our powerlessness. Even the lowest form of work are not to be despised. Let the man who knows no better work for selfish ends, no, for name and fame, but everyone should always try to get towards higher and higher motives and to understand them. To work we have the right, but not to the fruits thereof. Leave the fruits alone. Why care for results? If you wish to help a man, never think what that man's attitude should be towards you. If you want to do a great or good work, do not trouble to think what the result will be. There arises a difficult question in this idea of work. Intense activity is necessary. We must always work. We cannot live a minute without work. What then becomes of rest? There is one side of the life struggle, work, in which we are whirled rapidly round. And here is the other, that that of calm, retiring renunciation. Everything is peaceful around. There is very little of noise and show. Only nature with her animal and flowers and mountains. Neither of them is perfect picture. A man used to solitude, if brought in contact with the surging whirlpool of the world, will be crushed by it, just as a fish that lives in a deep sea water, as soon as it is brought to the surface, breaks into pieces, deprived of the weight of water on it that had kept it together. Can a man who has been used to the turmoil and rush of the life live at ease if he comes to a quiet place? He suffers and perhaps may lose his mind. The ideal man is he who, in the midst of the greatest silence and solitude, finds the intense activity, and in the midst of the intense activity, finds silence and solitude of the desert. He has learned the secret of restraint. He has controlled himself. Goes through the streets of the big city with its traffic, and his mind is calm, as if he were in the cave, where not a sound could reach him, and he is intensely working all the time. That is the idea of karmayoga, and if you have attended to that, you have really learned the secret of work. But But we have to begin from the beginning, to take up the works as they come to us and slowly make ourselves more selfish, more unselfish every day. We must do the work and find out the motive power that prompts us, and almost without exception, in the first place, we shall find that our motives are always selfish, but gradually this selfishness will melt by persistence, till at least will come the time when we shall be able to do really unselfish selfish work. We may all hope that some day or other we as we struggle through the pathway of life, there will come a time when we shall become perfectly unselfish, and the moment we retain to that, all our powers will be concentrated, and the knowledge is ours will be manifest. The moment we attain to that, all our powers will be concentrated, and the knowledge which is ours will be manifested.